Welcome to this week's installment, Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale with Don Henninger. I'm Don. With me, as always, is my podcast partner and community all-star, Kevin Maxwell.
Hello, Henninger helper.
Oh, that's good to see you, man. Kevin's always so good to be back with you every week. And, let's say hello today to Larry Hewitt. He's our guest. He's here today to talk about Neighbors Helping Neighbors, which is our Scottsdale charity doing really cool things to help people out in ways that, pretty unique ways that we're going to learn about today. So, Larry, welcome. Glad you're here with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here, especially when I look back at the previous podcasts that you guys have done. And, it's an honor to be sitting in this seat.
You're right on top of the heap, Larry. So you're going to be great today. We look forward to talking to you. But why don't we talk a little bit today about the crazy event season? And we're right in the middle of an epic event season in Scottsdale. And if nothing else, we could talk about Arizona or Phoenix in the Valley as, have maybe a messing up on politics and stuff like that, maybe some image problems now and then, but we sure as heck know how to throw a good party.
Don't we though?
Oh man, I don't think anybody does it better than we do, right?
Did you have a good time, Don, at the Super Bowl?
I didn't really do anything specific, but I just kind of hung out. And,
Did you get any of it in your system? Did you go out? Did you go out and see a little bit of it? Or
I went down to the ESPN broadcast down here in Old Town.
What day did you go?
I went, I think it was last Wednesday.
Okay, so the middle of the week.
And it was packed.
It was right, yeah.
It was cool, but they were having fun. They were broadcasting. People were out there having a great time. The street, obviously, Main was closed down there between Brown and Scottsdale Road. Everybody's out there like a big festival. It was a blast.
Yeah, right.
And the whole thing. How about you? Did you go out and think, Kevin?
I did the same thing you did, and we went there on an early, and it was really surprisingly busy. But I'm going to say something here that may get me kicked off this podcast because you know how we love Scottsdale. But you know how when family comes and visits, you look for them to come in to visit, and then they're there for a while, and then when they leave, you kind of go,
"Yep."
Thanks for coming. It was fun to see you.
Same thing.
Now I get to take my shoes off a little bit and relax, right? Uh-huh. Same thing, right? I mean, I'm glad that everybody's here. The economic benefits were awesome. I'm glad to get the town back. I'm glad to get the traffic back to normal. I'm kind of glad to get our lives back here a little bit.
I'm not going to disagree with you. So you're going to have to kick me off the podcast too.
All right. Is that sacrilegious to say that?
No, I think it's just human nature, man.
Yeah.
It's like when your family comes, you love them.
Yeah.
They're here for a week, but when they leave, it's time for them to leave.
That's right. Yeah.
And kind of same thing with this deal, right?
Yeah. It was it was just crazy, right? I mean, you couldn't get in anywhere.
Traffic was crazy. You couldn't get a restaurant deal. Mm-hmm. The golf courses are all jam-packed and charging twice as much as they usually do. It has its effects. Larry, did you go to anything this past week?
Didn't do much in the way of Super Bowl activities. Did head up to the Open on Friday.
Did you on Friday?
Soon after that, the family and I, a couple other families headed up to Prescott for the weekend, kind of avoid all the craziness.
Got out of town.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, right.
And then you had mentioned with getting the city back, I kind of equated the rain yesterday to kind of washing the city.
That's a great idea.
I didn't think about that.
We cleansed ourselves.
We kind of we took a shower.
Exactly.
We needed one. We were kind of smelly after all that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it does amaze me though that we can throw a party where there's 1 million people who come into town. And a lot of them in Scottsdale. And I heard a lot of the media people saying, they had a lot of people staying in downtown Phoenix, and they said they loved being in Phoenix, but they wish they weren't staying in downtown Phoenix. They wish they were staying in Scottsdale.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
I did. That's where all the action was, and ended up with a pretty good game on top of that. So I think when you look back at the way that we've hosted 4 Super Bowls now, I don't think anybody's hosted more than 4. There's a couple of cities that have gone 4.
I saw something on Twitter today that says, "Hey NFL, why don't you just permanently move the game here because all of our games are good, right? Every game, they come down the last few minutes, or it's really good." I forgot the one you went to in '96. Was that that wasn't it?
That was at the Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
So it was the only one in a college stadium, and it was the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Was it a close game though? I can't remember.
It was fairly close. The Cowboys were huge favorites.
Yeah.
The Steelers were lucky to be in there, and the Steelers were in until about late into the fourth quarter.
Okay.
And the Lunkhead quarterback Neil O'Donnell threw a couple of interceptions, and one of which sealed the deal for them. Otherwise, they might have had a chance.
Yeah, but the Giants win, the Patriots win, and now the Chiefs win have all been really good games.
Good games. So we had another good Phoenix Open, and we never disappoint with that either. It's always comes down to Sunday, so it's always a good match, and had a repeat champion this year, which doesn't happen very often. But this is the first year, probably in a few years, I didn't go out to the Open either. I said I was going to lay back and let the TV do the talking this time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here's the thing: we're just at the halfway point now. This week and running through till Saturday, since from the time we post this, is the Arabian Horse Show. That's a big deal here that people forget about. And then coming right around the corner from that is there's a full slate of spring training, which we haven't had for 3 years.
That's right.
So that's going to be amazing.
And we're going to have the Savannah Bananas here.
Talk about that. You're trying to get tickets, right?
Right. Yeah. You get, if Larry, you know what the Savannah Bananas are?
Those tickets are crazy. I looked at getting those. I think they're going for about $300 for grassroots.
It's funny how everybody.
Right.
It's funny how everybody knows what it is, but did you know what it was 6 months ago? I don't think. It's.
I bet sort of heard of it then, but I didn't really kind of plug into it yet. Now that they're coming, everybody plugs into it, right? So
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know, the Savannah Bananas are kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters on baseball, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, they play a baseball game and they have different rules. They have some kind of cool rules. I guess if somebody catches a fly ball and it's an out or something like that. Yeah, in the foul territory. Anyway, stuff like that.
It's a different game.
Yeah,
for sure.
In between innings, I have a lot of fun activities going on as well. I've been to a baseball game down in Hermosillo, and it's
is that right?
It's that kind of thing. Yeah, was it? Yeah.
In between innings, so I hope to make it to that game.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, get your wallets out.
Yeah,
and you better find somebody that's going to be kind to. It's going to be a tough ticket for sure. Too bad. Are they just playing one game?
One game at Scottsdale Stadium. They're playing the next day in Peoria. Both games are sold out. Also, I was looking on their website. They're on like a tour. So they're going to be in Texas and in the Midwest before that, and like a barnstorming tour.
Wow.
And according to the website, every single game they're in is sold out.
Amazing.
They're in the Dallas area, they're in the Houston area, somewhere else. They're like in the Kansas City area.
Yeah.
All those games are sold out.
They need to start playing at bigger stadiums like down at Chase Field or something, right?
Can you imagine being a player on that team? Like all of a sudden you're like just goofing around, and next thing you know, those guys are probably getting paid a little bit of money right now.
I would think so.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the business model is, but they're selling out everywhere. They're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty cool, huh? Let's talk about the airport for a second.
Okay.
You used to be on the airport commission. Well, look at the way the airport handled the business over this past
Unbelievable.
How many flights were taken off? Like 1,300
I didn't get a chance to
Monday,
look,
something
but
like that?
I know they did a great job. I know they had one of the busiest weeks in aviation history in the Scottsdale airport, and they pulled it off without a hitch. I don't hear. Well, of course, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I didn't hear about any problems at all.
That's amazing. They did that much traffic.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
Unbelievable. And again, you don't hear anything when things go well. Yeah, if there was a problem or somebody had a hiccup or somebody got busted or Lord help us, there was a crash, then you make news. But when things go smoothly, as they did under amazingly challenging circumstances, we have a big hats off to everybody in our city and across the valley who pulled this past week off without a hitch. And law enforcement, public safety folks.
Yep.
We had one of the Scottsdale assistant police chiefs on here a couple of weeks ago, who was talking about what they were doing to gear up for the games. And who knows what was happening in the command center about the stuff they were dealing with, probably a lot more than we would even really care to know. But whatever it was, they handled it well. And
they caught the streaker really quickly and got him.
That's right, they did.
Yeah, I think they had, they're estimated close to 400,000 out there on Saturday alone.
Is that right?
And with the population of Scottsdale, what, 240?
285, something like that. Yeah.
It's like twice the city and at a golf course, of all things. People just don't. If you're not from here and all you've ever seen is the Phoenix Open on TV, you don't have any idea the magnitude of what it takes to put on an event like that. And hats off to the Thunderbirds too for
right.
Like the Charros, they're going to give a bunch of money back to nonprofits in the area, and we're going to maybe talk a little bit about that in a second with Larry. And again, that goes off without a hitch. Pulling off it, although I will admit, 16 at some point will 16 ever get too rowdy?
Some might argue it's there already. Some people. Tiger, he won't come here at all.
No,
hasn't been here in years and won't come.
Well, I would say the year before was kind of too much on the rowdiness as far as the amount of beer cans that were thrown onto the green. But the Thunderbirds came up with a plan, and they brought in plastic cups, and every beer was served in a plastic cup, so you couldn't throw the cup.
Didn't have any trajectory to it, didn't it?
That's right. That's exactly right.
But then the new thing, did you see the snakes?
What they do know.
The snake cups. They were stacking beer cups together, and they were putting hundreds of, and they were making these like 20-foot tall snakes, and they're passing right. Would you see them, Larry?
Yeah, I saw the DPS go down and take them out.
Oh, they did? I didn't see that. Okay. Yeah. So, they'll always come with something, right?
You got to invent stuff like that. If you storm the gates at 7:00 in the morning and sprint like a crazy person out to the 16th hole, so you can sit there in the general admission area of the bleachers and wait for 4 hours before the first golfer comes by.
Right.
You got to come up with something.
Yeah.
You drink enough beers, you put enough snakes together, all of a sudden you're having a good time. And no wonder there's kind of crazy out there.
I had to chuckle. It is kind of funny.
That is fantastic. So Kevin, you and I have gotten to know Larry pretty well here over the past year or so. And what a privilege it's been. Larry is one of those people in our community who's got a big heart and always looking for ways to help others and always looking for ways to make our community better. Yeah, and he's in a relatively new job now that he just took on about 5 weeks ago as Director of Leadership Giving for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Scottsdale. A really cool job, Larry. You're the perfect person for that. Congratulations on that for sure. But he's on the boards also of Scottsdale Leadership and Family Promise. And Kevin, those are organizations near and dear to our hearts as well.
Sure is.
And he's a key member of another group, and that's the focus of much of what our conversation is going to be today, and it's called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. It's a Scottsdale-based charity formed by a group of folks who saw a way to help others in our community that needed some help, but would otherwise probably go unnoticed because they didn't need like massive amounts of help. They just needed help getting by in their lives, and this group came together to bring them some help, and I think it's one of the great untold stories in our city right now. But before we get into the neighbors a little bit, Larry, tell us a little bit about your background, because you're from Boston, so I always love hearing that Boston accent, and it's funny what comes up from time to time when you're at a board meeting. That's that Boston accent I hear right there. But tell us a little bit about your background, how you made it out to Arizona.
Yes, basically born and raised in Boston, lived in a suburb just outside of Boston. Went to University of Massachusetts, Lowell for criminal justice, and moved out here in '96 to continue my career in law enforcement and worked for the Department of Corrections for about a year, worked on the inside of Perryville Prison, and then I spent the next 6 years as a probation officer and a parole officer out in Pinal County.
Good for you. I didn't know that.
I'm just there looking at Larry going, I've known you for a couple of years and I had no idea.
What's up with that? Yeah.
So,
no kid. Actually, knowing Larry like we do now, he's got the perfect demeanor to be a parole officer.
We only have 30 minutes, so I'm not going to bring it up today, but I'm going to be talking to Larry about that later on because I'm sure he's got some stories and I want to hear them, but I'm trying to stay to the script, so go ahead, keep going.
We might veer off a little bit. If you got a really good story, we might come back to it in a second. But before we do that, let's make sure we give due notice to Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So tell us a little bit about how that program got started.
Yeah, so basically the program or the organization is 10 years old. It was started by about 6 neighbors up in northern part of Scottsdale. I think some of them are part of the Rotary Club, and they kind of want to just do something different and give back to when they came up with the name Neighbors Helping Neighbors. That's exactly what their concept was to stay inside the community and help people that needed a hand up, not necessarily a hand out.
Right.
So, and some of their early projects that they put together were the honor flight, where they took, I believe, 100 World War II veterans back to Washington, D.C. So they did that 1 year. At the beginning, also, we still work with Arizona Leos with the Shop at the Cop. From the beginning, we were one of their biggest sponsors, and as they've grown, we've continued to help out with that program. We'll go out on those Saturdays, the 2 or 3 Saturdays that they're doing it, and help the kids bag up the items that they purchase, help them wrap them. And that's always a humbling experience when you see the kids coming through the line that had $100 to spend on whatever they wanted, and they're buying food for their family or they're buying a dress for their mom. It's a wonderful experience. And we bring our kids to that as well, so they can see, what it's like.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's not surprising to hear that it was started by a bunch of folks with Rotary backgrounds, because that's what they do. That's part of their DNA as well. It was interesting, though, is oftentimes something like that will get started and you'll do 1 or 2 things and help people out, but then it kind of fizzles out a little bit. How have you been able to maintain and sustain it in a way where it's got legs now? It's a 501c3, correct?
Yes.
So it's really developed into something that's going to be sustainable. How did you get through that early phase of making sure this was something you guys were going to continue doing?
Yeah, so I've been with them about 5 years now. So I'm, it was going for about 5 years before I was found out about the organization. And it was just each year it just continued to grow. The guys would ask their other friends, or friends would see what it is that they were doing and ask, hey, can I come to one of the meetings? Can I come to one of the events? They would do it, and it just continued to grow from there. So right now we have about 60 members.
Okay.
So, and it's 100% of the money that we put in as members goes towards the causes. So whatever money, we have 0 payroll. So it's 100% volunteer.
All back to the cause.
Yep. That's
awesome.
We have 5 people on the board, and we meet once or twice a month, and then we have our monthly meetings. And just in the meantime, we just ask our members to keep their ears to the ground to bring projects to us. And
I saw you guys bought some mattresses for somebody the other day. That was really cool.
We did, yeah.
And you got turned on by Rachel Smantana, right?
Yes, she reached out to Michael Wills, one of our members, and said, hey, we have this family in South Scottsdale that just got out of transitional housing. It's 7 kids, and they don't have any beds.
Wow.
And so somebody had a bed that we could donate, and then we reached out to our group and said, all right, start the ask. And within a few days, we delivered 7 beds. Well, not 7 beds. I think 4 or 5 beds, enough to get everybody off the floor. Brand new mattresses, all new sheets, new framing. So, and it's just,
no kidding.
And that's the beauty of our organization, is when someone brings something to us, we don't have a lot of red tape that we have to go through. That they'll bounce it up to the board. We'll discuss it. If we feel it's worth putting out for a vote, then we will send out a vote to our membership. And if everyone is happy with it, then it's a go. And we just, we like to do as much hands-on as we do financial assistance. And a project like that is perfect because it was hands-on. We were able to deliver the mattresses, and we funded the project as well, and found people to donate brand new mattresses as well.
That's fantastic. I saw one of your projects, I think you were building a wheelchair ramp for somebody who needed access into their house.
Yeah, so we partner up with Rebuilding Together, and we try to do, so I'm the chair of that committee, and my goal is always to do at least 8 each year. And the beauty of that is Rebuilding Together, I just reach out to them and say, hey, we want to do one in February. What dates do you have? And they handle all the vetting. So with us being a smaller organization, no one on the payroll, vetting can be an issue for us. We'll have people reach out to us and just ask for random things, and we don't know whether it's legit. And sometimes, we've learned in the past, we give to somebody and we notice within a week our request line is blowing up because word got out. Oh, you could just call them and ask them.
Right.
So what we've been trying to do recently is partner more with the city. And so I've made a connection with code compliance. Okay. So, and again, through the city, there was a code enforcement officer that came across an issue with an elderly resident and knew that they could not afford to make the fix, which was drain their pool. It was halfway filled with green water, and the neighbors are complaining. The city can't physically do it, but the city can provide us with the equipment that we need to do it. And so, and again, it's another vetted project. We contribute to the Adopt a Senior, the Beat the Heat program. So it's just, the city has so many amazing organizations within it. And then for the city to help, organizations like ourselves identify people that are in need.
That's really cool.
Is that where most of your, I hate to call them leads because they're not really leads, but that's where your most referrals come from now, the city now, would you say?
Now it is, yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah, because like I said, the key was the vetting, and with it being neighbors helping neighbors. So when we do work with Rebuilding Together to do the ramps, we've never had an opportunity to do a ramp in Scottsdale. It's always Far East Mesa or Apache Junction or the West Side. So if there is someone listening that knows of a resident that needs a ramp to access their house, have them reach out to Rebuilding Together, and they'll do the financial vetting. They go out and they do the measurements, they build the kit, and we show up, and on a Saturday morning and 4 hours later, that person has a ramp.
You have a kit? You have a ramp kit that you guys have?
Oh, so the Rebuilding Together, they'll go out and do all the measurements.
So they provide you with all the lumber and everything's all pre-cut and stuff?
Everything's pre-cut. So we show up. It's a fun project.
That's awesome. Yeah. I bet it. I was going to say, how you did it in 4 hours? And that's right there. You show up with the pre-cut stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, it used to take us about 6, but now they love working with us because we do so many.
Yeah.
That they call us the A-team because we can come in and do one in 4 hours.
How many guys show up to do something like that for you generally?
We usually like about 6.
Yeah.
More than that, it's too crowded.
Too much.
Yeah.
It's usually a single wide trailer.
Yeah.
Usually you have the little carport right there, and so we're kind of tripping over each other if we have more than that. But now everybody kind of knows what their go-to is when we get there, and we're doing one actually this Saturday.
Are you really?
Sauceman in Maine.
Wow. So how are you doing something every weekend almost, or how does that line up in terms of your activity level?
Not every weekend. So it just depends on, what is coming into us. We never know. Like the the beds. I mean, that came in out of nowhere. And, so then we just put the call out to the members. We do a lot also with the Manna House, which is a transitional housing for homeless vets or residentially challenged vets. So we help with their when they graduate the program, they're given a kit, which we're familiar with Family Promise, and we help fund those kits for them to get a microwave and just the things they need to get off on their own.
All in Scottsdale, or do you venture outside Scottsdale as well?
Definitely outside of Scottsdale.
Okay.
But as we find more and more relationships with the city, we're able to work more in Scottsdale.
Are you looking to grow your membership, or what do you need to continue the organization? What is in terms of are you looking for new members? Well, how can people help?
Yeah, we're always looking for a new member, someone that's looking for, because like most organizations, we have guys that move out of state or just, life changes happen. So we'll add 5, lose 5 every year. So we keep a pretty steady number, and we've had quite a few members over the past few months. So
who are some of the, you said they're started by 6 guys here in the Rotary, or 6 people in the Rotary. Do you know their names? Anybody we would recognize? Any?
2 off the top of my head, Darren Tossetto and Glenn Martin. They were both original guys, and I'm not sure who was tied to the Rotary or not. But like I said, it was about 10 years ago they started that.
Oh, similar mission to what the Rotary does. Rotary gives back to the community in many different ways. And what I love about your story with the Neighbors Helping Neighbors, it's low key, cut to the chase, very little red tape. Just go out and do good work.
Exactly.
How many organizations do we need like that? I mean, there's lots of great big organizations that have some thick bureaucracies that do a lot of good work. But boy, this is kind of like you say with the mattress deal. You find a need and boom, you can jump right on it.
Exactly. Yeah, we try to find the cases that fall between the cracks with the larger nonprofit organizations that, like you said, there's a lot of red tape for them to do it, and working with some of the larger nonprofits and them sending someone to us that's in need.
So you have a lot of strategic alliances that way too. You mentioned a couple. How many more do you have? Do you have a number of groups? Are you looking to grow that portfolio too, or what does that look like?
We're always looking for groups that could use our help. Another one we work with is Southwest Kids Cancer Foundation.
Okay.
So for years we were going up to their camp and helping them make whatever repairs. We would go and cook for the families on the last day. And so basically their summer camp are for kids that are going through cancer treatment for them to get away. One of the other cool things, they have another camp called Camp Sidekick, which is for the siblings of the child that's going through treatment. Because if you're the sibling of someone that's going through chemotherapy and you get a cold or whatever, the parents might just be like, well, you don't have cancer. So, it's a place for them to go and hang out with their peers.
And unfortunately, I had a chance to see some of that stuff.
I was just going to say, I have an idea. I'm going to ask you a question later on, Dom, to save it, because we're having a great conversation with Larry right now, but remind me to ask you a question later.
Okay. Well, go ahead and ask it now. We'll tie Larry into it. Yeah.
Dude, let's talk about Cameron's Crusaders. It's coming up, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the cornhole tournament.
Yeah, the cornhole tournament. Let's talk about that. It's a fun event.
It is a fun event. Your story reminded me, we had a grandson, 11 years old, died of cancer. Mm-hmm. And he's got a brother about 1.5 years older. So when you talk about the siblings and how you worry about them as much almost as the kid with the cancer, because all the attention's obviously on the kid with the cancer. Mm-hmm. So I saw that a lot with our family, with Cameron, who died, and Logan is a little bit of an older brother, and he's doing fine now. But that's a real need, and people forget about that aspect of families going through terrible times with their kids like that. So that was unreal. But Cameron's Crusaders, so our kids, my daughter and son-in-law and Logan created an organization that's kind of like the same spirit of what you're talking about with Neighbors Helping Neighbors. What they do is raise a lot of money and try to do the little extra things for the families going through the trauma of having a child with cancer and going through that whole fight, and doing things to make it a little bit easier for them. It could be just getting them gas cards. It could be making food, providing food when they're at the clinic, that kind of deal.
Yep.
So we've got a cornhole tournament, which is their big fundraiser coming up March the 25th. A lot of fun, and they're going to raise a bunch of money for that. So, and I have to give it to the kids. They've raised probably $30,000 now to help kids, and they helped 6 families out this last Christmas by giving them Christmas gifts. 6 families were chosen from the clinics that they work with, and they went out big time. They each family got like over $1,000 worth of Christmas gifts. Yeah.
Wow, that's a heavy hitter.
That's excellent.
Both Debbie, my daughter, and Bryce, son-in-law, they both delivered personally. We're going to start helping them out.
I can't wait to go to the event this year and help raise some money. And it's one of my favorite events every year.
Well, this is, and reminds me that of neighbors helping neighbors. I mean, these are things that were formed because you see a need, and you put groups of people together that just want to help, and they do that without a lot of fanfare, with a lot of red tape, and they just grow an organization, and then they're out there doing good things and pounding the sidewalks, helping people out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure other communities do this too, but isn't it? I mean, I'm sure if you went to Dallas or someplace like that, there's lots of cool nonprofits going on, but just doesn't it give you a sense of pride living in Scottsdale and knowing that we have all these cool things going on? We have neighbors helping neighbors, really effective. I mean, that's impacting people in real time, in real lives. It's great.
These are the stories that's why we love having Larry, having you come on and talk about this, because we want to shine a light on this stuff. There's so much good happening in our community, in the city of Scottsdale, and everywhere else for that matter, that never sees the light of day because we're all worried about other crap that's going on in our lives or in the politics or just messes that are happening elsewhere. Yet we still have so many good people doing so many good things for folks. It's just it's a heartwarmer for sure. And
Don, you and I talk about this a lot. This is pulling the curtain back just a little bit for the audience, but you and I talk about this a lot, that we want to have people like Larry on. And we had Sky Kids on, right?
Right.
We talk about another good one. We have all these people on talking about really cool, good things, accentuating what we're doing positively here in the community. So
part of our mission. Exactly. That's why we started that, and that's why Kevin and I keep doing these things, because we're not running out of cool stories. That's for sure. And Larry, you're pulling another one together too. Now you guys got a big fundraiser coming up too. They call it. I love they call it a tea party. TEE. It's a golf, but Larry from Boston Tea Party. I think. Did you come up with that?
I did not. But yeah, might have changed the spelling on
Boston.
that.
So what's the tea party all about?
So the golf event is going to be held on April 22nd. Out at McDowell Mountain. So if someone's interested in either sponsorship or purchasing a foursome, it can be found on our website at nhnArizona.org.
nhnArizona.org. Okay,
yeah, it's right on the right on the landing page. Just scroll down a little bit, and you'll see register, and it's a relatively inexpensive tournament. I think whole sponsorship, if you want to sponsor holes, $100.
No, you're kidding me? Yeah.
And then same with so our other big event that we have is coming up on November 2nd. It's our annual All Hands on Deck. And so we used to do several fundraisers throughout the year. And when we would do a fundraiser, that actual fundraiser that night would go directly to one of our organizations on that night. But what we found is we were going to the same people and doing the same ask all the time. So we said, let's just do one big one each year. And so last year, or the year before last, we had it up at CB Live, and we raised in one night, about a 5-hour event, about a little over $100,000 in the one night.
That's great.
Pretty good. My goodness. It's great. So, yeah. Now, members also donate funds as well as the labor aspect of that. Is that how that works too? Is that how you keep things going?
So our membership dues, I believe, are $120, and that just goes to handle our transaction fees, our credit card for the year.
That's more than reasonable. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's not a give-get mandatory for a member.
Mm-hmm.
We're like I said, we're very laid back, and everyone just kind of polices one another. And when guys stop showing up, they reach out to them. Are you still interested? And I'll be around, or they just go off and find a different avenue.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
One of the other things, if I could touch on, a couple of years ago we started an endowment at Scottsdale Community College. So that's been going strong. We've actually doubled that from our initial give on that, and so we try to give that to a family member of military or law enforcement as our criteria on that. And so students can just apply through SCC, through Maricopa County Community College, and they point them in the right direction for our scholarship. And then we have a scholarship committee that kind of goes through all of them, answers the 3 key questions, and we do a point system and do the award from there.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, you guys got your hands in everything.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about the financial. You guys, people probably reach out to you for some extra funds, probably from now. Which would you do more of? You do more of physical building structures and providing infrastructure for somebody, or like with the microwaves and the beds, or is it more financial assistance?
I'm going to guess and say it's 60 finance, 40 hands-on.
Okay.
We would like to make it 50-50.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
when people ask you for financial assistance, is it for like rent assistance? Is it utilities, stuff like that?
we've had that. And again, that's the tough ones for us. So we like to refer somebody, we'll ask, okay, how did you get our number?
Mm-hmm.
They say through St. Vincent de Paul. And then we'll check with St. Vincent de Paul and say, okay, they're legit. But we prefer the people come through another organization and then we do it because, we have a feeling we might have been burned in the past on, on
they're vetted that
system.
way, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and the need's real and authenticated. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That way you just go about doing the good work to help them out.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about building a structure to vet people. And that in itself would be a heck of a lot of work probably.
And especially with the, being on a board, as you both know, the fiduciary responsibilities that come along with it. And if we have people giving to us, we want to make sure that the money that our corporate sponsors may give us or individual money that we raise at our fundraiser is going in the right direction. You
have some good corporate sponsors too?
We do, yeah. For our annual event, in fact, that was something we started last year for the first time. Is we started a corporate committee for our big fundraiser, and it went really well. And we have a feeling it's going to. And when you look at other nonprofits and you look at what our levels are, like I said, on the golf tournament and our happy hour, the ticket is $75. It gets food, it's cash bar, but we have a live band, we have a fantastic auction, and it's just a great time.
We're going to plug into that, Kevin.
We are. Yeah.
Now that we hear about that, so you have to make sure to tell us when we need to show up and who we give our money to.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah. Don, I got to say I'm super impressed with Larry, and you should be concerned because he might be coming after your title as most board appointments in the Valley. Because I think you were number one king, but Larry, he could be approaching you right now.
I think we can pass the mantle. Nothing lasts forever, so I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay,
absolutely.
I mean, keep it
going.
On Scottsdale Leadership Board. He's on the Network Helping Board, Family Promise Board.
Yeah. You're up there, man.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I've learned the art of saying no as well.
I don't think you have, Larry.
I don't think you have either.
I'll question that.
we all talk about that, but I don't think you're doing it very well either. So fantastic stuff, though. Any other questions for Larry, Kevin?
No, thanks. This is I kind of previewed a little bit earlier when I said this really is what makes Scottsdale. This is the fabric of Scottsdale. Larry's the fabric of Scottsdale.
Totally,
he's an example. There's lots, and you know what's really cool is there's a lot of people out there just like Larry doing very similar work, which we haven't on the podcast yet. But we're gonna go find them and tell their stories on here. And thank you, Larry, for persevering. And I'm glad to know you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on the show. And
I've been at Larry's house too.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
his family,
rib cook-off,
great barbecue. Yeah, great,
fantastic.
Yeah, good cook. Yeah, it's a fun time.
Well, actually, Kevin, to your point for our audience, if anybody listening out there has stories they think we should shine a light on, then just let us know. You can shoot me an email, donh@scottsdale.com. Very easy to remember, donh@scottsdale.com, and we'll start looking at plugging you in the lineup because we're going to be in this for the long haul because I don't think we're going to run out of stories to tell about people doing cool things in Scottsdale.
Larry, what else you got? You want to tell anything else you want to share us about? I mean, also you got a new job recently, so very cool on that. Even though I know that you're getting a paycheck for that, you're not volunteering, but still you're helping the community out.
No, it's been great, and kind of Neighbors Helping Neighbors was my introduction to the nonprofit world. A friend of mine, Kevin Flynn, invited me to their fundraiser, and I went to it and asked, what is it you guys do? And he told me. I went to the next meeting, joined, then chaired a couple of the committees. And then because of the work I was doing with Neighbors Helping Neighbors, someone from Scottsdale Leadership reached out to me, Michael Wills, and said, you should join Scottsdale Leadership. Scottsdale Leadership, in turn, wound up on the Neighborhood Advisory Commission for the city of Scottsdale, and then learned about Family Promise and joined the board there. And I love the nonprofit world. And through all this experience, able to get on with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Scottsdale as their director of leadership giving, and it's been fantastic. It's been a great fit, and your
wife's in the current Scottsdale leadership class, right?
Yes,
class 37.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so she knows what's all about.
She does, yeah, and she's the chair of Parks and Rec Commission as well.
Is she really?
Yeah,
so she's on a boarding commission already too?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Family that's involved in Scottsdale.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, role models for us all, for sure. Larry, thanks, man, for spending time with us today. It's really good to catch up with you. We learned a few things. We thought we knew everything about you, but we still always find some new things when we have these interviews. So we sure appreciate that. Keep up the great work. We'll get you on again. We want to talk to you about some of the other stories that we'll dig in with you later on. But we sure appreciate all you're doing for our city, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much.
Thanks to all of you for listening today. We look forward to being back with you again for our next edition of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.